Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy, or Sub-Zero, as they call me in the underground fighting world.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've heard you've got quite the reputation in the
Yes,
underground fighting world.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah. Uh, so, Andy, no tricky or clever tie-in here. I just want to ask fairly straightforwardly. Did you play Mortal Kombat when it was like first came onto the scene way back in the day?
I sure did. I feel like I was the perfect age for Mortal Kombat. I was My first memory of Mortal Kombat is being like maybe 13, 14 years old, somewhere in there, and it had blood and you could kill people. And I can't tell you honestly, like how blown my mind was when Mortal Kombat came out. And I'm also old enough that I also remember when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, and you had to go to a mall where there was an arcade, pump quarters into a machine to play it, and there's no internet or anything. And I remember somehow there were people that knew like how to do the fatalities at the arcade, and so we would all stand around and watch people. And Mortal Kombat was a big deal.
For sure, it had that right amount of edginess,
Yeah,
like you felt like you're getting away with something by playing Mortal Kombat. Like, don't quite let your parents watch what you're doing because they're not going to like this feel to it. Because you're right, up to that point, the big games were Mario and Sonic, and these games where there's no real violence to them. On Mario, you're jumping on mushrooms and flattening them. On Sonic, you're hitting things and knocking coins out of them. But in this one, it's no, you're going to be like real people and there had been Street Fighter, but even in that one, it's very cartoonish hits and things.
yeah.
And this one's like straight up, no, we're ripping people's spines out and stuff like that.
It was a huge deal, and it had like the water cooler thing, like the water cooler talk, where it's like I remember going to school and they'd be like, "Dude, do you know about Mortal Kombat?" And like it just had that. It was a big cultural thing.
Absolutely. So here's the next question: did you have a particular fighter that you always like to use in Mortal Kombat?
So when you go back to like the first two, when you don't have as wide of, it got to the point where there felt like there was 20 different guys. I mean, it was kind of hard not to like Sub-Zero. He could freeze people, which is cool, and then he could shoot the ice onto the ground, and the opponent would slip on the ice, and then you give him an uppercut. So I was a Sub-Zero kind of guy.
Yeah, I feel like there was kind of two sides to me because there was the side of me that like I always go for sort of main character energy. I just do. So I always liked Liu Kang, who I felt like in the game was like the main character.
Yeah,
But as far as just fun to play with, you're playing your friends. I always like being able to throw Scorpion Spear.
yeah.
That was fun.
Get
Like they're
over
across the
here.
stage. You hit the get over here and then uppercut them. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But I will
I
say,
I have a lot
yeah,
of good memories of playing Mortal Kombat, and I'm old enough. I remember having to buy the Mortal Kombat strategy guide book that showed you, how to do everyone's fatalities and animalities and all the different things you could do. And those were also cool games too, because there were so many secrets in those games, like hidden characters or just different things you could do. It was really ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
yeah, even the first one, like the whole idea of if you are playing on the what is it, the bridge, and you
Yeah,
uppercut someone and when you're finishing them, that they'd fall to the pit. That was like a cool little. Hey, if you're in the know,
yeah,
not that it was really that big of a secret, but like it was just still a cool thing that you got to be in on that knowledge if you played the game.
totally. I mean, they were. Yeah, I mean, I'm 45 years old, and I'm talking about playing this game when I was 12, 13, 14, and Mortal Kombat still exists and is still, somewhat going strong. So they obviously did something right.
That's exactly right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Jeremy and Andy Talk Video Games.
Yeah,
And
this is our
next week,
spin-off
no,
podcast.
that's right. So that leads us to what we're going to talk about today, which is, of course, that there is a new Mortal Kombat movie out, Mortal Kombat 2. No connection to the 1995 movie or its sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Two of the
This is a
greatest
sequel.
movies ever made.
That's right. This is a sequel to the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, which was a straight to streaming movie, largely because of COVID. I think it would have been a theatrical release, but it got the straight to streaming treatment, and now we get a sequel that does come to theaters. So we being upfront, we both said we didn't like the one that came out in 2021. It wasn't a good movie. And so neither of us was like, oh, sweet, can't wait for the sequel. And yet, I think maybe largely the timing of it, the fact that the big releases the past 2 weeks have been Michael and The Devil Wears Prada, neither one of which are we the specific target audience for. And so it was just like, man, a third week in a row, I can't just skip the big release. It's like I got to go see something. So I went to see this movie just like I need to feel alive again in the theater. This is the biggest screen and it's got a lot of people in it. That's what I really need is a good theater experience. And so I went to this on Thursday night, on the opening night, thinking if this movie's ever going to be fun, it's going to be fun with the crowd that's psyched to see Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll start with the summary, although my summary this week's a little different because I don't know. It's not quite summary. This is a hard movie to summarize, and if you don't know what's going on in Mortal Kombat, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, so what I wrote is get ready to return to the world of Mortal Kombat in what is advertised as a Johnny Cage movie, but is really a Katana movie that is most certainly not a Cole Young movie. But hey, there will be recognizable IP and plenty of choreographed CGI fights to make you say, that reminds me of the game I played 30 years ago.
Yep.
So Andy.
Yeah.
Was Mortal Kombat 2 good?
Doesn't matter. No, but I enjoyed myself. Maybe I shouldn't. I've been on a cold streak of seeing movies that I enjoyed. And so this was just a way to sit and turn my brain off and sometimes laugh with the movie, sometimes laugh at the movie. But really, I didn't have that bad of a time watching this movie.
Fair enough, Andy. My answer that I wrote down was no, of course not. But I'll give them this. It's twice as watchable as the first one. So they're getting better. By Mortal Kombat 7, we might really be cooking.
We probably will. Mortal Kombat 16 will be like The Godfather.
That's right.
No, like, it's bad. But
yeah,
there are parts where I'm sitting there watching it thinking, like, this movie knows it's bad. And this movie kind of knows what it is. Now there are parts when I thought it didn't realize that, but I don't know. I guess too, just we talk about it on here at different times. Like low expectations sometimes do play a part.
Absolutely. I do think that definitely helped. I'm with you. Like, I did not think this movie was good, but I was not like having a bad time watching this movie. Yeah. This was not one of those movies where I was like, oh, I just can't wait for this to be over. But we're going to talk about a lot of the negative because it's just right there in front of you. Sure. So I'll start with something positive, and that's this. Not surprisingly, Carl Urban's great in this movie.
He really is.
Maybe one of its redeeming factors is that, like, Carl Urban, first off, like, I love you, man. Maybe the real message here is know your worth. You shouldn't be slumming it down in this movie.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, you decided that this movie was worth your time, and you're better than the material, but you elevated the material a little bit. So it was just fun to see Carl Urban be charming and be fun and enjoy himself in a movie that is not worthy of how good he is.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. But, it's like, again, low expectations, I guess, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, I just want Carl Urban to be mildly entertaining and get off a few funny lines, and he does. And he is one of those guys. He's a good balance where, like, he can do the witty and like the sarcastic and all that stuff, but it's like you do also still kind of buy him as a BA. Like he rides that wave pretty well, and he's definitely better than the material. But we got him, so he did a good job, I thought.
Yeah, he did. So one thing that this movie does, and this is not a big surprise. I'm not the first person to say this. This is kind of obvious and kind of even tied in, I think, to the marketing. Is this movie really? It feels like they listened to what the fans had to say about the first one, and they tried to fix it. So, one of the things, and I joked about it in my summary, how it's definitely not a Cole Young movie. Cole Young was the character introduced in the first one, who was basically our lead of the movie, and it was this new made-up character. And everyone was like, why is this guy? Who is this guy? Why is he in this movie? We've got all these characters we know and love from the Mortal Kombat world, and you're giving us this new guy, and his powers are really weird and random. It's like this body armor suit with it's like everything about it just didn't work. Yeah. And this one was clearly like, okay, we're not making it about this guy. He's barely going to be in it. we're gonna do the most obvious kill him off thing ever as he fights Shao Kahn,
Yeah.
and yeah, so kudos to them for like being like, yeah, we get it, we blew that one. Let's really pivot away from that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up, and I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, in a series that is so low stakes, really, like, I don't really have a problem with the filmmakers just more or less acknowledging what was bad about like, because I don't, this isn't like a precious series to me. I don't feel about this like I do, Marvel or anything where I'm like, well, no, but they switched from this and they did. I don't care. They heard what we didn't like about the first one and they just took care of it. So, thumbs up, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, I will say it almost made me feel bad for Louis Tan, who plays Cold Young, because
Sure.
he had to get the script and be like, oh, sweet, my Mortal Kombat sequel's coming out. What's happening? Okay, I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm dead. Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I want to do this? I mean, I guess to be fair, it's not like he's such a big star or something that he's, too good to come back. But I did feel bad for the guy because, he probably thought when he did the first Mortal Kombat, this is my big break. I'm going to lead this Mortal Kombat movie, and this is going to be huge for me. Instead, by the second one, he's being killed off pretty unceremoniously. And I'll just say, like, not even an emotional moment.
No.
I don't think if you look around the theater, there isn't a single person going like, "Aw, they killed off Cole."
Yeah, yeah. It really more than anything shined the spotlight on what just a weird, stupid decision that was to make him so front and center in the first movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing that they sort of pivoted on, is there was a lot of complaints that the first movie didn't really include a tournament.
Yeah.
Right. So Mortal Kombat is a fighting tournament. And the first one, they're like, that Shang Tsung just figures out this loophole to come attack them all before the tournament. And we're like, everyone's like, what happened to the tournament? So in this one, they're like, oh, we're going to give you a tournament. Except for that, they sort of like, they go like halfway through the movie or 2/3 of the way through the movie. And then it's either, I can't figure it out if they chickened out or if they literally just couldn't figure out how to pad enough runtime. But they were like, okay, now we need this whole storyline with an amulet, and they've got to go on this side quest and this whole adventure. And that's the part where I'm like, all right, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're actually losing interest because you're trying to have some weird plot. And the more plot you try to give this, just the dumber it gets.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna make a Mortal Kombat movie, just have the guts. Like, you don't have to try and explain anything to me. It could literally just open with a fight and just go through the tournament. Tournament ends, somebody wins, credits roll. I don't need all this stuff and like this character is actually a spy, for Raiden and blah 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 blah. Like, I would be totally fine. Like, it's not like it's going to cost this movie a Best Picture nomination or something. If they just do the dang tournament, like, just do it.
You're absolutely right. All right, I'm premature here. I was going to save this for after all the Mortal Kombat talk, but I just feel like I got to talk about it now because this is what really irks me about this. This movie really should just be a like more modern superhero type version of Bloodsport, and I don't know why it's not. But as I think about it, Bloodsport, I for the longest time I thought like, what a great little template for movies. Just have your hero, have him fighting in a tournament. There's all kinds of unique bad guys he's got to fight through or opponents. Wins the tournament at the end. And then I started thinking like, what's the best tournament style movie? It doesn't even have to be fighting. Any kind of tournament style movie besides Bloodsport. And it's like, there's actually really not a lot of them that follow the template. I mean, Van Damme tried to mimic it a couple times. But I was like, Karate Kid, which is basically like the teenage version of Bloodsport where he fights through a tournament.
Right.
There's not a lot of successful examples of it. And I started thinking, is Bloodsport kind of like I was saying with my Animal Attacks movies? Do we only get one good tournament fight or fighting tournament movie? I don't know.
So the mistake they make is they just always try and add more plot. My go-to would be Over the Top, the arm wrestling movie with Stallone, but same thing. They throw in this absurd plot about divorce and this kid, and he escapes and he runs, blah, blah, blah. Like, someone just make a straight tournament movie. Like, what are you so scared of?
Yeah. And I just sit there and look at Bloodsport and I go, what makes Bloodsport so cool is how little character development we get other than here are these guys fighting and their kind of fighting style becomes the character and that's it.
Yeah.
you know, and you got all these different fighting styles, and you're watching, you're just like, it's so cool to watch Van Damme and these other guys narrow down the field as they fight each other. And like, you could easily just make Mortal Kombat that. Bunch of characters fighting each other, different styles, narrowing the field. You get one champion, just like you said, movie over, and everybody goes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, because the Mortal Kombat games, have given the filmmakers such a gift. I mean, I haven't played Mortal Kombat in years and years and years, and off the top of my head, I could probably rattle off 15 cool Mortal Kombat characters that are just there for the taking. Like I don't know. I don't know why we always have to add. And in movies like this, like we talked sometimes about like they need to retire this trope from a movie. I think it's time to retire like the ancient relic amulet type thing. Like, holy cow, we've seen that in so many movies. It's such a MacGuffin, and it's just such a easy way out of things. I feel like.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It needs to be retired. I think really the problem with this franchise, and I think we've talked about it before, maybe even on here, is it's really hard to tell a compelling story, so you shouldn't try. But all the characters are intentionally one-dimensional cliches.
Yeah.
And that's okay if you don't try to flesh them out. But when you try to flesh them out, that's when it starts to become like there's just not more to them. You're kind of exposing yourself by showing too much.
Absolutely. And then the other big thing too, and like I'm going to steal your phrasing, like when we talked about, I know what you did last summer and ripped it. You kept saying they're way too precious about the characters. So are these movies. Like I just kill people. Like there's so much like, oh, but they can come back, or we can go back and bring them back. Like no, just I don't care if you have to draw a name out of a hat. Pick someone who's going to win this movie and survive it, and just start slaughtering everybody else like they do in the games.
Yeah, I mean, because the reality is, you can be worried about making sequels. If you made a Mortal Kombat movie and all the characters but one died as they won the tournament, and then a few years later you said we're making another Mortal Kombat movie and all the characters are alive again to fight to the death again, no one's gonna care. They'll be like,
No.
"Cool, as long as the fights are good and we're
Yep.
watching good action." You know,
Absolutely.
it doesn't matter how little sense it makes. But yeah, the whole like we can bring anybody back from the dead thing because they're all just in this land of the dead, and we just need this necromancer to summon them back, or we just need to go there and it really lessens the stakes, like we've talked about in other franchises that do this. It makes you feel like, oh well, big deal if you die, you're not really
Yeah.
dead. You just get a do over, basically. Which I know people say, well, that's kind of like the games. You die and you just do it over again. I get it, but there's some things that have to be different about movies. And movies, you got to feel like there's stakes to losing.
Yep.
Um, can I tell you maybe my biggest disappointment with this movie? And I say
Please.
biggest disappointment because it doesn't mean it's the worst part of the movie, but it's the part that it feels like should have been the easiest to get right. And that's the music.
Mhm.
Because in Mortal Kombat, you're going to get one thing right, have each fight have its own cool theme, which is probably the thing the 1995 version did the best.
Yeah.
Because like it's very of its time, but that is a killer soundtrack. It's the type of soundtrack people would buy the CD and listen to because it was so cool. This one, I was like intentionally kind of listening to the music throughout the fights, and it was just very generic
Yes.
action movie music and kind of the same for each fight. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is Mortal Kombat. Put a cool like techno song to each fight
Yeah.
and have it be themed, have it kind of fit. And that's the other thing. You have it kind of fit the characters, just like fighting styles. They kind of have their musical style that fits the character. And that's really what you should be doing. And it just didn't exist. Everything about this felt very, very bland. And I think the number one thing I could point to because of that is the lack of like music that really gives it life.
Yeah, and that's just so. It just you talk about you saying that everything feels bland. That just goes exactly against the games because, like I said at the beginning when we talked about it, I can't tell you like what a breath of fresh air Mortal Kombat was to video games. So it's like try and somehow capture that in your movie. Yeah, it's I never thought I'd get this worked up about Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah. Well, and it's because it feels like such a layup, and the reality is it probably just isn't. It's a hard movie to make because of all the limitations that we've talked about. But I don't know. It still just feels like you couldn't have done that, to get it right. I do. Again, I feel a little bad for the filmmakers because I don't know exactly what to put my finger on because the CGI was well done. They obviously put a lot of effort into the choreography of these fights.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to a fight like Liu Kang versus Kung Lao fight in this movie.
Hmm.
Kung Lao is brought back from the dead and he's basically turned bad and blah blah blah. Emotionally, of course, I don't care anything about it, but the choreography was really like impressive, I guess you would
Hmm.
say. And yet I'm watching it, I'm going like I feel nothing during this fight. Like
Yeah.
not even impressed. I'm not even like, well, it's a cool fight. Like I'm literally just kind of like, things are happening. And I don't know if it's just because I care about the character so little in that fight, or if it's because it's too well done and too fantastical. Like there's a lack of sort of the just hand to hand, ground and pound fighting that they use. Like again, I go back to the '95 version. I'm not sitting here and telling you that the 1995 version of Mortal Kombat is a good movie, but why I think it has like sort of a soft spot in a lot of people's hearts is uh, because it was more like just hand to hand fighting. Like they had to do like actual martial arts fighting because they couldn't do all the cool stunts. And
Yeah.
it's sort of thing we go back to when you can just do anything. Sometimes it takes away the creativity of feeling like you're watching a real fight. I didn't feel like I was watching a real fight at any moment because they were just everything they were doing was fantastical.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, the right answer in all of this is probably that they just should have never tried to make Mortal Kombat movies. I get why they did, I do, but that's probably the right answer.
Yeah. So in the most like ridiculous of segments of this podcast, I do want to just say a couple of my key plot issues,
Okay.
which is like it's not a million miles long. It's just a couple of the big ones. So my first one, Johnny Cage doesn't freak out nearly enough just being introduced to all of this crazy world.
No, he really takes that well, doesn't he? He just really
He
takes
sure
that in
does.
stride.
It's like, and he's got a real steep character arc. I mean, like real quick, like
Yeah.
he's like,
No, yeah.
no way, this is crazy. I want out of here. I am out of here. I'm back. Okay, you know what? I'm all in. Like
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
it's pretty fast. Again, if you didn't have Carl Urban selling it, it would have been real bad.
It would have been real bad.
Yeah. Uh, my next plot issue, Katana is the most obvious traitor in cinema history, I think.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if Shao Kahn, he's a dope if he didn't see that coming even a little bit. Like, I mean, from the start, you're just like, well, you're gonna raise her to be a traitor against you. She's definitely plotting her revenge from the moment you murder her father in front of her and then adopt her as your own daughter. Like, you should have seen that one coming, bud.
Yeah, it's really bad. And like you said, you know it's bad when it lowers your opinion of the villain who's being double crossed because you're like, you're a moron. You had this coming.
Yeah, I mean, her first fight of the tournament is against Johnny Cage, and she beats him and then doesn't finish him and just walks off. And Shao Kahn's not at all like, that's
That
curious.
was weird.
In our very brutal, murderous tournament, she did not murder the people that are against us.
Wonder if that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
probably
probably
not.
another cliche we need to retire too. Is just like the evil ruler who slaughtered the young protege's parents in front of them. Like we've seen that a lot of times too.
Yeah. Uh, this is not necessarily a plot issue. Maybe it's more just a story structure issue, but uh, it really feels like they skimped on the villains in this movie. It was
Mm-hmm.
very much just Shao Kahn and everybody else. Now, granted,
Yeah,
like they start with Katana on the bad side and Jade on the bad side, but all these characters are kind of going back and forth, and they bring back Sub Zero in his whatever form. But
right.
it's like really, it's like Shao Kahn's just like it, and I'm like that feels kind of I don't know. It just felt kind of lacking. Like I always
Yeah.
felt like the coolest part about Mortal Kombat was that the more villainous characters were always the coolest characters with
Oh
Sub Zero
yeah.
and Scorpion. I think that's sort of that comes from making Scorpion a good guy, and I know that's probably like Mortal Kombat lore and all, but just uh, I don't know. In the game, it's always like, hey, you know what the two coolest characters are? The two bad guy ninjas. Those are the two
Yeah.
coolest characters. And yeah, in this one, it's just Shao Kahn, and it really seems unfair that he gets to use his giant sledgehammer slash spear on the other end a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. It just I don't know, just doesn't seem fair to me. Like if I'm going into a hand-to-hand combat fight and the other guy's already gigantic and he's carrying a giant sledgehammer slash spear,
Like,
I'm gonna be like,
excuse
hey,
me, I have an objection
yeah,
here.
Yes, I was not informed that we could bring weapons to this.
Yeah.
I would like a gun if we can do
Yes,
that in
please.
that case.
If everyone has a bazooka laying around, I would gladly take that.
Yeah, which actually, now that I think about it, I believe in one of the Mortal Kombat's is maybe like Mortal Kombat 3 or something. We actually get like a SWAT guy who did have a gun, right, or something like that. I don't
Striker.
know.
His name was Striker.
Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's funny. Um, yeah, I mean, like that's pretty much it for my plot issues. Like I said, I could get ridiculous and just start going through and nitpicking, but those are just sort of the big three that I was like, you know, these are the ones I keep noticing or thinking about. Is Johnny Cage not freaking out enough? Katana is such an obvious traitor. And where are the other villains besides Shao Kahn? I guess that's one thing that kind of ties back to my things they pivot from. They really toned down the Shang Tsung in this movie, who was our main
Yeah.
villain in the back. And I'm gonna be honest, the guy that they cast as Shang Tsung, talented actor. Everybody knows him from The Dark Knight, playing the guy who's good with numbers, who
Yes.
Batman has to go to Hong Kong to capture. I never thought he made a good Shang Tsung. Like he just doesn't look menacing or
No,
intimidating or anything.
yeah, he's
And
much
so
better suited for like the role he plays in The Dark Knight.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
know he looks much better saying I'm good with calculations.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so pivoting away from him, I think was probably a strong decision.
I agree. I mean, the only other thing I would add too, as far as like plot points that I have an issue with, is the plot. Just literally everything about the plot. No, yeah, I agree with you completely. Yeah, it's all ridiculous. But those were three good glaring examples.
Yeah. I will say the fact that they bring everybody back who dies is a bit of a slap in the face to the couple of people that they just straight up don't care about killing off and never bringing back. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
poor actress who plays Sindel in this movie, who plays Katana's mom, who basically has a couple lines and shows up to do her like screaming move in the pit against Sonya,
And then
and
it's gone.
yeah, there's some things that this movie does that I can't figure out if it's kind of funny that it does it or just annoying because like her, she shows up and literally the only thing she does in the fight is just scream over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And in some ways you're like, well, if you can do that and you're in a real fight, why are you not just going to do that? And in some ways I think they're trying to play a little bit of a joke of that's the way some people play the game. Like,
Right.
you know, if you're Sub-Zero, you're just freeze ball, freeze ball, freeze ball, freeze ball, you know, like
Absolutely.
that over and over again. It just felt like, man, they really just kept going powers, 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 powers over and over again in this movie. And there's really no seeming limit to them. I mean, at one point, Liu Kang just like fireballs and raises up two giant dragons of fire, and it's like, okay, wow, we're just doing it all now.
Yeah, that was another thing that was annoying, where it's just like, so why don't just like any of these guys, like why don't you just do your best thing all the time? Yeah, it's messy for sure.
Yeah, uh, yeah. Well, Andy, I think that I don't know. I don't have much else to say about Mortal Kombat 2. I think that's what I'll just say is I think well, we should probably talk about how it's being received. I think that's
Yeah,
going to lead into the next thing I'm going to say. So, I am shocked, maybe more so by the critic score than the audience score, even though it's not like the critic score is fantastic on this one from Rotten Tomatoes, but 65% from the critics. I would have bet everything I own that this was a sub 50 movie from the
me too.
critics, but you know, I don't know. Maybe the critics are benefiting from low expectations too. You know,
I I
and
would have
giving
to
it
think that plays a part.
because yeah, that really shocks me. Audiences, which again, I don't know if I should be surprised or not. 89%.
That's wild. Yeah,
It
I
is
mean, I
wild.
guess it's appealing to the audience that it wants to appeal to.
I guess it is. And you know, we're gonna talk about box office in a minute. Going to the movie, like I said, on a Thursday night, pretty full IMAX theater. I mean, you know, about as full as IMAX seems to get these days because it's a lot
Yeah,
of seats. And except for your really gigantic movies, you know, like The Odyssey will probably be sold out and Doomsday
yeah.
will probably be sold out. But um, there's a lot of people there excited to see Mortal Kombat, you know.
Well, there
So
you go.
it's got a following. You know, you sometimes you don't realize it still has a following until you show up at the theater and there's all these people wearing Mortal Kombat shirts and stuff like going
Right.
into the theater, and you're like, oh yeah, it's really a thing. So Andy, what can you tell us about the actual box office?
So I saw $80 million budget,
That's all the
which I
same.
always appreciate a movie. Sadly, anymore, it's like an accomplishment if you can keep your movie under 100 million. So I do appreciate that. 60 million worldwide, 40 in the US. It opened like worldwide a little bit lower than I would have thought. I would have thought this movie would have had more overseas appeal to it.
Mm.
But like 40 US, 20 worldwide. So um, it'll definitely drop because I mean, movies like this always do take a big hit. But I do wonder because what's coming out next weekend, I don't think is in any way any kind of competition to this movie, just as far as like audience. So, like I always say, second weekend is what's so important. So we'll see how the holdover is, but I don't know. To me, a 40 million opening isn't that bad. I don't, it wasn't like people were begging for a Mortal Kombat sequel, and especially as bad as that first one was, the 2021 one. I think this is kind of a win, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's. I was when I was looking at the numbers, I was like, good for Mortal Kombat 2. I don't know
Yeah,
what I expected, but I don't know. I didn't expect this close to. I mean, like we talked about, it needs like double its budget to be profitable, but
it's
like
got some
that's a
work to do.
yeah, but it knocked out a good chunk. We'll put it
Yeah,
that way
it
in the
did.
first weekend. Like it's got a chance, is what we'll put.
Yeah, it does. So we'll see. And I
Uh,
honestly, I can, and which I know this is annoying because we always say there's no way to gauge it, but this kind of feels like the kind of movie that once it does land on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something, that people will check out. So I'd say it's probably going to be a success.
yeah, and I have a feeling that we're gonna get a third. I did read in the trivia that the guy who started this Mortal Kombat, reboot or whatever, always viewed it as a trilogy, with the first one being before the tournament, second one being the tournament, and the third one being after the tournament. Sure enough, that's what the first two are,
Yeah,
and you know, I think even if the box office doesn't end up where they want it to be, I think the audience score is showing something that like, hey, people are enjoying this, and I think
yeah,
that might be the thing to make them say like, well, by the third one, we went from streaming to theaters, which had some success, some level of success, even if it wasn't great profitability, and then maybe the third one will really have that momentum.
yeah. And maybe about like we joked about at the beginning, maybe by the time they get to the third one, they'll kind of have it all figured out. So we'll see.
And maybe they will. All right, Andy. I think usually this is about the point where when we have a movie that we don't think is that great of a movie, we say we've given it the time that it deserves, and we've gone
Yeah.
about 30, a little over 30 minutes of this one, so I think it'd be time to wrap it up. Like you said, next week, not anything that we think will be necessarily a big detriment to Mortal Kombat's numbers, but probably the movie that we'll want to watch and review is Obsession.
That is
New,
absolutely what I'm going to be watching. And it's easy to fall into this trap where you just see these reviews and stuff where it's like the next great horror movie because it feels like all horror movies say that. But this one really does look intriguing to me. I'm really looking forward to this.
I am intrigued as well, so we'll see. Like you said, but I think we're obviously very hungry for a good movie experience in the theaters because, like we said, I think that played a part in us just being like, "Hey, Mortal Kombat 2, not that bad."
Yeah. Yeah, I want something that I can really, really latch on to and sink my teeth into, and something that I love, to have something that feels like it warrants 45 minutes or so of a podcast. So,
That's right. All right. Well, hopefully that's it. And if you know, if not, we'll continue searching. But in the meantime, I hope everybody enjoyed listening to this episode. I hope everybody will let us know what you thought of the movie Mortal Kombat 2, and then just let us know when you played Mortal Kombat, what was your favorite character? That's something I would like
yeah,
to
that'd be
hear.
fun.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.